The east gate, standing at the sunrise. I, the stone pillow, meeting God at the horizon. Every real encounter with God begins at the end of our own strength. In Genesis chapter 28, we find Jacob on the run. He was exhausted, stripped of his security, and left with nothing but the hard dirt to rest on. He took a simple stone, laid his head upon it, and went to sleep in the dark. We often believe that God only meets us when we have built something grand or holy to offer him, but God meets Jacob right in the middle of his exhaustion. When Jacob awoke, he took the very stone that had served as his pillow, stood it upright as a pillar, and poured oil over the top of it. He marked that place as a boundary of beginnings, a sunrise in his soul. The hard place of human exhaustion became an anointed altar of divine hope. 2. Life out of the dry stump. How does God build a future when our past looks completely broken? The prophet Isaiah points to a landscape where everything humanly relies on has been chopped down to a bare stump. Yet, in Isaiah chapter 11 verses 1-2, he declares, "And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots, and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him." Where human effort fails and institutional trees fall, God brings forth a living shoot out of the dry soil. Your family lineage, past mistakes, and former condition do not dictate your trajectory when God's Spirit rests upon the root. God does not patch up our self-made efforts. He brings forth brand new life from the ground up. 3. The cost of ransom and the call to rebirth. This new life requires a divine rescue. In Hosea chapter 3 verse 2, the prophet is instructed to redeem a bride who had sold herself into bondage. "So I bought her to me for 15 pieces of silver, and for an homer of barley." She was trapped in a slavery of her own making, yet a price was paid to buy her back. This is a picture of God's grace. He pays the debt for our freedom when we have nothing left to give. When Jesus encounters Nicodemus in John chapter 3 verse 7, he speaks directly to this truth. Ye must be born again. Being redeemed isn't just about polishing your old habits or trying harder. God doesn't clean up your old debt just to leave you in the same condition. He gives you a brand new origin and a whole new life. IV, the narrow way and the third day promise. Once we are brought into this new life, God calls us to walk a specific path. Jesus commands in Matthew chapter 7 verse 13, "Enter ye in at the strait gate." When we try to stray into broad fields of self-reliance, God mercifully sets up boundaries to keep us from destruction. The path through the narrow gate isn't meant to restrict us, but to guide us safely home. And even when life breaks us down and human structures fall apart, God promises that destruction is never the final chapter. In Hosea chapter 6 verse 2, the prophet promises, "After 2 days will he revive us. In the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight." Jesus echoes this resurrection hope in John chapter 2 verse 19. "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." When the enemy thinks your story has ended in ruin, God is simply setting the stage for a resurrection. Verses called out of Egypt. Finally, God calls us out of the old system entirely. In Hosea chapter 11 verse 1, God remembers his people. "When Israel was a child, then I loved him, and called my son out of Egypt." Egypt represents the old life of heavy labor, anxiety, and relying on our own strength. God does not leave his children in bondage. He calls us out of the world's heavy burden and invites us into his rest. Are you still trying to carry old debts, rely on your own effort, or rebuild what God has torn down? Today, turn your attention to the horizon of God's mercy. Surrender your hard place. Turn the stone of your exhaustion into an anointed altar before God. Accept his redemption. Trust that Jesus has paid your debt and gives you a brand new start. Walk the narrow path. Step through the narrow gate and stop fighting the guardrails God places in your life. Step out of bondage. Hear his voice calling you out of the old ways of labor and into his resurrection power.